You're watching ESPN's Feast Week, presented by Lowe's, as we welcome you to a sold-out Maples Pavilion on the Stanford campus as defending national champion North Carolina pays a visit to the Bay Area. The Tar Heels rank 9th currently, led again by Hall of Fame coach Roy Williams, who goes up against his former player and assistant coach Jared Haas.
And you think about the players in this one, you start with Joel Berry. Second game back from the broken hands. Got to shoot it with a lot better. Missed his final 10 shots in his first appearance. And Reed Travis in the front court. He's the leader of the front court. They've got to go against the young sides of North Carolina and try to get that interior presence in foul trouble.
Joining Berry in the starting five for North Carolina, Williams, Benson, Brooks, and Luke May, who's the leading scorer for Carolina through 2 games at 23 points per game. Stanford will start 3 freshmen alongside Travis and senior Michael Humphrey, who's played well early on, averaging a double-double for Stanford. It's been 4 years since Stanford last knocked off a top 10 team, but 3 of the players on the Stanford roster were part of that win, but a turnover to start the game.
The big key offensively for Stanford is they've got to value the basketball and they've got to get good shots, and that means not quick shots. Quick shots that lead to long rebounds usually end up with transition buckets the other way for Carolina.
Kenny Williams off to a good start. He's 5 of 9 now on the season from three-point land. Missed most of last year with a knee injury. Travis on the drive. First basket for the Cardinal. Vincent driving, and rebounded by Oscar da Silva. Look at Stanford looking to push tempo. It was last touched by Travis. Although Randy McCall steps in and says actually a hit, a North Carolina player, so we have an overturn. Sean, you and I have done a lot of games at Maples Pavilion. Have you ever seen it like this before?
Only when I played here. I mean, and it's been that long, I think, since this building has really rocked. And I graduated UCLA back in 2000. It was one of the most electric environments. There's a lot of blue here. Make no mistake about it, a lot of Carolina fans. But Stanford student section is pumped. They're ready to go for tonight. And if you're looking to build a program and get it back to what it was, you need the environment. And it's lively in here.
And that gets the crowd going with the dunk by Humphrey. Stanford by 1. Joel Berry for 3. And here comes Stanford, playing without a couple of key guys tonight. Dorian Pickens, because of an injury, as Travis is called for the offensive foul.
The ability to score in the front court is so key for Stanford in this game. Obviously, Reed Travis just got the charge, but he's going to look to penetrate out, and then the good dump down underneath. This is a young front court for North Carolina. Their first true road test, and their first true test against an experienced front court.
Both these teams will head to Portland and PK 80 after this, as Da Silva throws it back on May. Davis on the drive, flips it up and in. 6 straight points by Stanford after the 3 to start the game by North Carolina. Berry penetrates, can't float it up and in. And Travis clears.
A big key for Stanford is securing that first possession stop. If they're able to get a stop on North Carolina and not give up a second chance point just by rebounding the ball, that is a big-time win.
Humphrey, good hustle, but he stepped on the end line. Carolina ball.
You think about the best front courts in the Pac-12, and these are what you're seeing at points per game and rebounds per game. Obviously, Arizona, DeAndre Ayton, off the charts good. But you think about Boatwright and Metu and how important they are for USC, a big win for them on the road last night against Vanderbilt. This Stanford lineup is experienced, they are consistent, and they shoot a very high percentage.
Up top, Williams, his second three-pointer. He's got all the scoring for North Carolina. Did not shoot it great from three-point land last year, and 2 years ago made just 1 3. He's already got 6 this season. Stanford turns it over.
Well, it starts with his footwork. I mean, his ability to step into the shot and be on balance every single time. You watch him as he comes from the right-hand side of your screen and steps 1, 2. His elevation is straight up, straight down. The release is looking good. And that's what's leading to the consistency, is the repetitive motion that he's developed. That time he was off balance.
Yep. Dejon Davis, a freshman from Seattle, handling the point. He initially signed with Washington, but then Lorenzo Romar was fired. Romar now at Arizona as an assistant coach, and Davis ended up here on the farm. Got Barry defending him. They have that right hand tape. That's the hand that he broke. Shot clock down to 5. Davis gets into the paint. Can't score, though, when it's rebounded by May. Williams had his feet set that time, but too strong. And over the top, foul is called on Garrison Brooks, the first on UNC.
But you just see how quick Carolina is in transition. It's been a staple for Roy Williams' coach teams his entire career. They have a number break. They know exactly where they're running out on the floor. So as you push the ball up, even if you're Luke May, you know where your wing is running to. You can get on the ball and find an open look.
How many similarities do you see with Stanford then, because you've got Jared Haas, who played for Roy Williams and coached with him, or is it different because Stanford doesn't have the same type of talent pool that North Carolina has?
Yeah, the personnel is so different that you don't see a lot of similarities. Like, for example, Stanford's got to slow the game down and dictate the tempo. They've got to be able to score in that final third of the shot clock and execute in fine, clean looks, forcing North Carolina to have to defend. Carolina can really use their athleticism and length to cause a lot of problems for Stanford.
De Silva. They got the open look here. Travis is shooting it a lot better this year at the three-point land. That's his second made three this season. He didn't have one through his first 2 seasons in college.
It doesn't even look like the same release from a couple of years back when he was a freshman here. Every time he went to the free throw line, it was like going on a Mr. Toad's wild ride. You didn't know how it was really going to end up when you got on it. But now you look at him and there's a consistency in the way that he's worked. Look at the release, his form, his elbow stays in. He's out here every single day. And the change over his shot really started with the new coaching staff. And they said, hey, how committed are you to changing your release and becoming a better shooter? It started 4 feet and in, and they just kept working and working.
De Silva got caught in the air, and a great pass to Dejon Davis, and Stanford leads by 5. Williams penetrates, beautiful hang and finish. That's 8 points for Kenny Williams, averaging just 10 per game.
Good start here for Stanford. To build confidence in this game and to believe, you need to be able to get off to a good start. You fall down early, all of a sudden the home environment, it all goes to the wayside. The students get quiet. Instead, Stanford has been attacking the interior of North Carolina, and they've got themselves a 3-point early lead.
Stanford leads the defending champs by 3, and the year after winning a national championship historically has not been good for North Carolina. You go back to their 2009 title team. The last year they didn't even make it to the NCAA tournament, losing in the NIT Finals. Dave Pasch, Sean Farnham. What will it take this year for the Tar Heels to repeat or even get to a national championship game for the 3rd straight year?
Maturity and consistency from their front court. They got a lot of length and a lot of talent, but they're breaking them all in. And there's moments where you watch them in this early college basketball season, you go, man, this front court could be really good. And then there's other times you're going, they're completely out of place, don't know where they were supposed to be. And then you need that young man right there, Joel Berry. Come back from injury. He's got to start shooting the ball better. He's now missed his last 12 shots that he has attempted. And obviously the broken hand is still weighing on him a little bit. You see him trying to find his shooting stroke, even just standing out on the court waiting for the ball to be inbounded. He's the heart and soul of this team. How he goes is how they went last year. And it's the same story this year, especially with the younger guys he's working with.
He was the Final Four most outstanding player last year. He talked about he's missed 12 straight, made his first shot of the season, hasn't made one since. North Carolina came in on Friday to get accustomed to the time change. I mean, this is an 11:30 Eastern start for these guys. And then they head to Portland from here. That's a 3rd three-pointer for Kenny Williams. What a start.
Well, Kenny Williams continues to shoot the ball well. He's done a great job of getting ready before he receives the ball. He's got a very quick elevation. And
after they got possession of it, here's Pinson in transition. Goes it to Silva, tried to pass it underneath. And an intercept by Travis. It's so hard. We're talking about can Carolina repeat. It's so hard to do that now because every year in college basketball, as Travis misses a three, it seems like you're starting over. You have almost a new team. Granted, a lot of the North Carolina players returned. Another one. That's 4 threes for Kenny Williams. He's got 14 of the 17 points.
You've got to have 2-4 awareness right now if you're Stanford. And what I mean by that is in transition, you've got to make sure you are there on the catch and you are less than an arm's distance away. Force him to put the ball down on the floor. Force him to get outside of his comfort zone a little bit. He hasn't had to do anything other than step in and knock down late contested shots.
They had an issue with the scoreboard earlier where it was actually tied. Well, 14-11 is the score, North Carolina. 6 minutes gone by in the first half. Travis, no, but he'll go to the line. Does that very well.
Now look at Kenny Williams. He just checked out of the game. But, Dave, what I'm saying here is watch him. Comes through. Nobody's in there. It's a late closeout once again for Stanford. Again, trailing, late closeout, clean look. Late closeout, clean look. This time, hands are down, you back away. Force him to have to put the ball, run him off the three-point line, and force him to have to do something different. Especially when a player gets off to a start like this, you cannot allow him to get that comfortable inside your building.
He's got all the points for North Carolina on the bench right now. And Jalik Felton, who is the nephew of Ray Felton, we were talking about that 2005 team for North Carolina that won a national title. Felton was on that. And Jalik from West Columbia, South Carolina, a freshman, as the Tar Heels can't convert on that possession. Stanford with a chance to tie the game, and Davis is fouled. He'll go to the line. Take a look at the Maui Invitational bracket while we have a moment.
Wichita State in a really tough game. Had a rally behind a Cal team that's gotten off to a sluggish start this season. Able to come back from an 18-point deficit to advance into the semifinals. They'll face Marquette. Notre Dame obviously led by Bonzie Colson. Awaits the winner of that Michigan-LSU. Game is still yet to come.
Michigan, a team that North Carolina is going to play next week in the Big Ten ACC Championship. Sterling Manley picked up 2 quick fouls, so he goes to the bench for North Carolina.
Well, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. Youth in the front court. You talk about wanting to repeat as a national champion. Manley has been a beast on the boards, but then you come in a game, you quickly pick up 2 fouls, you go to the bench. You're not very beneficial to your team.
Latek almost turned it over that time, and then a foul is called on to Silva. It's his first, second on Stanford. And so Brandon Huffman, freshman from North Carolina, Goldsboro, North Carolina, will be at the line.
And you look at Brandon Huffman and you think about the fact he's only been playing basketball since he was 14 years old. His stature is framed 6'10", 250.
First chance at the line this season for Huffman. Finally somebody other than Kenny Williams getting a point.
This is the scary part about our game. You know, you watch youth basketball and you go to these AAU events and these middle school events. They go, yeah, I'm going to play in college. That's what a Division I freshman looks like right there. Just let that sink in for a second. He's a freshman. What do you think he's going to look like 2 years from now?
You just look at the wingspan on him as he guards Reed Travis. Davis driving.
The point of emphasis for Stanford in their offense is to attack and be unselfish. They want to turn the corner. They want to get in the lane.
Stanford starting to get sloppy. And the second time that another official has had to step in here to have a conversation about whether it was touch last.
Well, and here's what they're talking about. Look at the shoes down here and how big they are. Look at the shoulders and how broad they are. You talk about the wingspan. That is a long wingspan that you're dealing with right there. And there's kids right now thinking, I'm going to be a Division I player. I'm going to play at Carolina. Do you look like that? Because if you don't, it might become a little bit more difficult for you.
And there he is underneath with the dunk.
Spacing without the ball, working in, elevation up.
So 6 turnovers by Stanford, 5 made field goals by North Carolina. Travis again, that's a 2-pointer, but again, you just see the touch and the much better looking jump shot this year.
Oh, the confidence too to step in off the dribble like that. His freshman year, he puts it down, he's going straight to the basket. There's no chance he pulls up and tries to shoot that shot.
Guy that's had a ton of injuries for Stanford, working hard underneath Huffman. He'll go back to the line. He's a problem right now for Stanford underneath. That's on Humphrey.
He just wedges himself in, and you see that time he wedged himself in the possession before. Watch the way he sneaks behind the back line of the defense. Rotation slow. Davis didn't pinch down underneath as they doubled big on big, and he got into the rim.
Now, North Carolina, there's going to be guys that get more playing time over the next month because of Cameron Johnson being out with that knee injury, the grad transfer from Pitt.
Well, and that's the other big thing. I mean, we didn't talk about during the whole can they win a national championship thing. Okay, well, how does Cameron Johnson fit into this roster? How much better does he make him? I think he makes him a lot better. But we haven't seen it out on the floor. The product right now, as this season goes on, when you get to the grind of the ACC, how this team continues to improve with chemistry.
Blocking foul is called on Pinson on the Cartwright drive. That's the first foul on Theo Pinson. And the 14th foul on North Carolina. North Carolina about to bring in 4 substitutes off the bench.
You see the pace of this game, though, has sped up in the last couple of minutes. And as the pace quickens, that benefits North Carolina.
So why is Stanford pushing it? They've been doing a lot of pushing of the ball here so far.
They want to probe, and then they want to bring it back out, and they want to continue to push. The problem is the decision-making process. You know, so when you tell players to attack, sometimes they get confused and think, okay, well, I'm just going to drive and I'm going to try to go at it. No, you've got to be patient within your attack. You can still push it in, kick it out, come back and attack again to try to find a better seam and a better gap. They've had some sloppy passes that have led to some careless turnovers.
So Williams with his 14 points is back on the floor for North Carolina. Cartwright misses the second free throw. Tar Heels by 5. 8 minutes gone by here in the first half. North Carolina has played Northern Iowa and Bucknell. The Tar Heels will play Portland on Thursday to start the PK 80 event. Good defense that time by Huffman on Sharma, the 7-footer for Stanford. Berry pushing tempo. You can't leave Williams open. He's got the hot hand. He smokes the net. His 5th three-pointer of the first half. He's got 17 points.
Hey, Stanford's got a lot of smart kids on their roster. There's no question about that. But you do have to question the fact that once again he checks into the game and not a single hand went up in his face.
Isaac White, freshman from Australia, on the drive. Here's De Silva from the corner. Can't answer from three-point land. He'll try it again. Hit it again!
This is a show right now. We'd like to welcome you all to the Kenny Williams Show. I hope you're enjoying it no matter where you're at. This is phenomenal.
He's outscoring Stanford by himself by 5 points. Here he is in transition, giving it up to Berry, and Berry takes it himself, and the lead swells to 13 for the Heels. Twenty of the 28 points scored by Kenny Williams, and he just got the assist on the Berry basket. 17-4 run right now by UNC. Offensive foul is called. Berry drawing the charge on Dejon Davis.
The defensive rotation looks good. That guy right there, Mr. Latham, he understands great shooting. He sees it every night with the Golden State Warriors. He's thinking to himself, you know, Steph might not be in the building, but Kenny Williams certainly is in the building tonight, and Stanford hasn't figured him out yet.
Well, last month, former Stanford men's basketball coach Dick DeBizo passed away, leaving behind a wife, Shauna, 2 kids and 4 grandchildren. DeBizo was the head coach of the Cardinal for 7 seasons. And during that time frame, he coached Stanford Hall of Famer and Pac-12 Hall of Famer as well, Kim Belton. And the reason that that's important tonight is because Kim is producing our game back in the truck, as he's done for ESPN and ABC for 3 decades, as Barry scores inside.
We'll see what happens, too, in this game is you got Williams shooting the 3 well. Defense now extending out a little bit. That's creating some seams and gaps. Barry has now scored twice going to the rim. We'll see if that carries over to his perimeter jump shot.
By the way, Kenny Williams with 6 threes. That's a career high. 20 points. That's a career high. Reed Travis with the basket and a foul on Brooks. 2 already on Garrison Brooks. And Travis now with 10 points.
And Travis has been the best offensive weapon for Stanford. No surprise there, but they need a lot more of this down the stretch. They need him to get back down low on the block. He's hung out, in my opinion, a little bit too much out on the perimeter in the first half after having some success driving to the basket. I want to see him posting up these young bigs of North Carolina, getting them into foul trouble, and see if he can wear them down.
Travis missed the free throw, but they get a second chance opportunity. Cody Pugh, a freshman from Baltimore, missed some time with injury, getting action now, takes it to the goal, but can't finish. Out of bounds. It'll stay with Stanford. We're talking about Kim Belton working tonight's game as a producer. Here's Kim and the Stanford. Kim's on the left. Coach DiBiase next to him. The Stanford class of 1980. And Kim in the top 7 in Stanford history in both scoring and rebounding. He was a second-round draft choice of the Suns back in 1980. Sorry to give Kim's age away, but there you go.
Yeah, well, there's not many times you come to a shoot-around and the coach of the team totally ignores you and I and goes right to the producer. But that's what it was. I mean, that's what it's like when you come back with Kim Belton working in this building.
Yeah, Jared wanted nothing to do with us. He just wanted to talk to Kim.
Jared, you want to talk about your team with us? No. Hey, Kim, how you doing? Good to see you.
Pinson missing. So Stanford weathering the storm of threes by Kenny Williams, trying to get it back to single-digit deficit.
See, Reed Travis standing up on the outside a little bit too much for my liking. I want to see him getting underneath and posting up. Carve out space. He's staying at the top of the key too much.
Pinson, no. Kept alive by May and then cleared by Humphrey of Stanford. They leave White for a second, but he can't get the 3. And here comes Kenny Williams again running the break. Nice pass by Williams. Very unselfish. You got the hot hand, but you still play the right way.
Well, Luke May running the lane like all good Carolina bigs do. You hustle, you get in front, you usually get rewarded.
Humphrey buries a 3. May over 2. Cardinal got his own miss as Stanford just kind of stood around.
Well, not only did they stand around after the double team and they didn't box out on the weak side, they didn't get in the middle either.
Kim Belton, all-time great Stanford history, all-time great producer. We'll have more on that when we return to Maples Pavilion. Well, for those of you who have never seen the inside of a TV truck and how a broadcast works, there's Kim Belton. He's our producer tonight. He's also in the Stanford and Pac-12 Halls of Fame. He's one of the all-time great basketball players in Stanford history. You get a glimpse into the truck and how things work there.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because you come back to campus after such, coming back and forth and trying to get back. And one of the things Kim told me was he gets lost sometimes because of the expansion on campus and just how much this campus has changed and evolved since he graduated.
Isaac White inside, hits the basket. It's really weird to have Kim talking to me right now as we're showing him in the truck. But that's how it works.
My favorite part was hitting the button that mutes our mic, and people don't know we have a button that we can just talk to him and you guys can't hear us. And I'm telling him, Kim, smile. You're on camera. You look good. You got the bow tie going. You got the jean jacket. He's the most fashionable producer we have, too.
Williams missing on the 3. But a foul is called here on Stanford. That's 2 on Michael Humphrey. 16 foul on Stanford.
impressed right now with a couple of things that I've seen. First of all, I was impressed with Stanford, their early effort, their focus, attention to detail early, taking care of the ball, valuing it. Now they've gotten a little loose with it, the turnovers. The turnovers have led to runouts. But more importantly for Carolina, they've answered. This young team in a road test in a sold-out environment, yeah, they've got a lot of supporters, but how mature are you going to be away from home? How comfortable are you on someone else's floor? And for some of these guys, it's their first time that they've ever done this in Tar Heel Blue.
It's a 9-point lead for North Carolina. Inside 7 minutes to go. The Tar Heels 2-0 on the season. They're ranked 9th. They were number 6 preseason last year, ended up winning the national championship. Barry reaching in is called for the foul, and that is the first on Joel Barry.
Well, and sometimes in games, little things matter. Situational basketball, an excellent out-of-bounds play. Throw the ball in and curl right off of it like Joel Barry just did. And again, he's got 3 baskets. All of them have come inside the paint. It's a great way for him to start to build confidence, considering the fact that his perimeter jump shot just isn't there right now.
One of the things that Kim on the left is doing there, he's telling Sean, here's the replay, here's what's coming next. And so he's in constant communication with us, and particularly the analysts, telling him what exactly to expect here for the replay. Here comes Carolina in transition. It's been a quiet night for Luke May, who came in averaging 23 points per game through 2 games. Felton way off. Another rebound for Travis.
One of the adjustments that Stanford's made, they finally figured out where number 24 is, and Cartwright had his hand on his chest the entire previous defensive transition play.
Huffman picks up the foul. Here again, Kim telling Sean that penetration is coming here by Stanford. To take a look at this.
Right, see, so what are you trying to make me sound like I don't know what's coming? Are you trying to make me sound like I can't break down a play? Is that what you're
letting the viewers know what he's telling you?
Yes, I know. He's telling me there's a replay coming. Don't give away all my secrets. I mean, that's when you work with Kim, it makes it easier because the man's a Hall of Fame basketball player. So it's just, you got a basketball guy in the truck, and then he's going telling me, okay, Sean, watch, he's going to come from the right. I'm like, I am watching the game out here. I just want people at home to know that.
Travis with the free throw.
I mean, I know sometimes the guy that you work with normally, he struggles with that.
Yeah, he doesn't pay attention to anything except...
What's your name again?
Yeah, exactly. There's a foul on the pass, and that is the 17th foul. So it's going to be a 1-and-1 here. They get to Silva with a second personal. So Luke May, 7 of 10 on the year at the foul line. Former walk-on. Can't get the bounce on the front end of the 1-and-1. Travis, face-up jumper, short that time.
Didn't have any lift his legs. Actually shot the ball coming back down.
Barry for 3, on target. Another 3-pointer for North Carolina.
How do you find a rhythm? How do you find a flow? And sometimes it's not just by continuing to shoot shots on the outside. You got to see the ball go through the hoop. And after seeing 3 shots inside the paint go down, Joel Barry steps out and knocks down a 3.
7 3-pointers for Carolina. Granted, 6 of them were by the same guy, Kenny Williams. Stanford turns it over. 8 first-half turnovers for Stanford, 10 baskets. Not going to beat North Carolina that way. And officials are being instructed now to call the first foul that you see in the post. And that's what happened that time, away from the ball. So it's on White, and it will be a 1-and-1 for Barry. 18 foul on Stanford.
What about Joel Barry? Cousy Award watch list. Pretty much a preseason All-American to everybody's team. ESPN and beyond. Just a guy that has high expectations coming into the season, and when they announced he had the broken hand by playing the video games, that's a setback, and it's one that's disappointing because it takes you away. Now, he could do a lot of things, but he struggled shooting the ball because of the injury.
Didn't he tell you that he was the Cavs?
Yes, he was the Cavs playing the Warriors.
And he thought
said it was personal.
And so he thought he was going to win.
I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you. I had a teammate at UCLA. He lost a video game one time with one of my other teammates, and he took the whole video game system as a PlayStation, and he threw it out the window of the dorms.
Care to name names? It will stay with North Carolina. You don't have to sell out one of your brothers. That's okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
But I mean, look, it gets heated sometimes. You get in fights with teammates. Look, a basketball team is a family, right? You ever fight with family?
No.
That's not natural. That's not normal. What are you talking about? Sometimes it gets competitive. Play Twister, Life, Monopoly, Risk, anything?
Yeah, but not physically fighting. Is Barry off on the three?
Well, he didn't punch his teammate.
He punched the wall. I know he punched the wall. Nice drive and score by Isaac White. And Stanford is back with an 8. That gets the sold-out crowd back into it a little bit. May backing down to Silva. Nicely done. And a foul, a three-point chance. That's 3 on De Silva as well.
That's the experience of Luke May, and those aren't boos. That's them chanting Luke. That's how many Tar Heel fans are in the building here tonight. But when you stay on balance, look at his footwork. Watch him feel where the defensive player is. Little step up and under, able to finish. And the frustration when you go to school and Luke May takes you there.
What a great story Luke May is. A former walk-on, career 4 points per game. Last year in the NCAA tournament goes for 20-plus points in consecutive games. Only the second time scoring double figures in consecutive games. He does it in the NCAA tournament, hits the game-winning shot against Kentucky in the Elite 8, and off to a great start this year.
You think about it, he's the first Tar Heel to score 20 or more points in the first 2 games since Tyler Hansbrough did it back in the 06-07 season. It's pretty good company.
Excellent defense by Sharma. Jump ball. It will stay with North Carolina. And Carolina by 10. Inside 4 minutes to play here at Maples Pavilion. It's been a terrific night so far for Kenny Williams. David Shaw, Stanford's got Notre Dame on ABC Saturday night this week. You're watching the Pac-12 on ESPN. Somebody doing a Sean Farnham impression there, I guess.
I don't know what that is. Please don't show me that again, Kim Belton. I don't have a button to tell you that.
You're supposed to be a good producer, Kim. All right, PK80 presented by State Farm. Both the teams involved in tonight's game will be playing, and Stanford's got Florida. So you play number 9 on Monday, then you got number 7 on Thursday.
And then the winner of that game, or the loser of that game, faces either Ohio State or Gonzaga. It doesn't get that much easier. And right now, Joel Berry's making his offensive game look easy once again. And when it gets easy for him, boy, everything just opens up for North Carolina.
Yeah, he's got 13 points so far in the game. Career 11 points per game. He's played 110 games in his North Carolina tenure.
Well, and that's the second time on an out-of-bounds underneath that Joel Berry's had a good, clean look. You know, and again, I always think if you get about 8 points on those out-of-bounds underneath situations, you put yourself, those special situations, you put yourself in a really good position to win a basketball game.
Sean, we talked about can Carolina repeat? And I have to imagine when you have your point guard back, because guard play is important at any level, especially in the NCAA tournament, when Roy Williams knows you've got the coach on the floor back for your team that won a national championship last year and 2 years ago lost on that last-second shot by Villanova, you feel pretty good about your chances.
Well, okay, we just showed David Shaw. What if you said, okay, you know, a healthy Andrew Luck was coming back to play on Saturday against Notre Dame? You'd be like, well, gosh, that makes the team a lot better. The quarterback position in football is so important, as is the point guard position in basketball. Which reminds me, our guy Jay Will in studio tonight got inducted into the College Basketball Hall of Fame over the weekend, so congratulations to you, Jay Will, back in the studio. A tremendous honor, and really one that was extremely well-deserved.
Congrats, Jay. May from the corner, way off on the 3. Nearing 3 minutes to go here in the first half. Carolina's led by as many as 15 here. Travis puts it on the deck, attacks, and draws the foul. That's what he has to do. Just keep going at Carolina.
Everything's coming from the top of the key, though. I'd love to see Reed Travis. The one time he posted up down low, he had an N1 opportunity. But he's only posted up with his back to the basket once in this first half.
Luke May's first foul. Travis has had so many injury issues at Stanford. Missed a month as a freshman with a stress fracture, took a medical redshirt, and missed 22 games a couple of years ago with a leg injury. You mentioned Jay Will coming up on the Land Rover halftime report. Jay is back there with Seth. We'll look at some of the other games going on in college basketball. We're also going to talk about the play. It's been 35 years since the play. Stanford Cal just played in football this past weekend. We'll look back at what took place back in '82, and also a preview of PK 80 from the guys in the studio.
And just so Seth doesn't feel left out, I know he's a Hall of Fame member as well. Long Beach State. So, I mean,
that's more important than the college basketball Hall of Fame.
I mean, now that's not a recent honor. He got that a couple of years ago, so it doesn't have the same sizzle and pop. But Seth deserves some love as well.
Got some debris or condensation on the floor right now.
And here's Reed Travis. You look at it. McDonald's All-American. The first one since 2006. The injuries really just slowed him down. And I think in some sense, though, the injuries, by slowing him back and setting his career back, opened up the opportunity to improve his shot the way that he has. Because without those injuries, maybe he just keeps going along and trusting the process of what he's always done versus making the adjustment to become a better basketball player.
Right, the bright side of those injuries, you have more time to develop and maybe turn yourself into an NBA player at some point. Here's Barry getting deep into the paint again and follows up his own miss with a hoop. We have a tandem of Barry and Williams combining for 35 of the 45 points for Carolina.
How about the level of aggressiveness that we've seen out of Barry?
Pugh thought about it, thought better of it, and got it back outside. White, contact, no whistle, and White able to sneak inside and get the bank shot.
I like the toughness of White for Stanford. Trying to keep him in there, trying to get him to the half with a little bit of momentum.
Sean, he's got 13 points in 13 minutes played. Isaac White, freshman from Australia. May from outside, can't get the bounce on the three. 5 rebounds for Travis now to go at 13 points. Already been to the line 7 times in this game. Give it to him again. Here he is on the leg block. Gives it up. Corner 3 won't fall for Pugh. Out of bounds to North Carolina. Or was it touched? The officials aren't sure. Was it touched by Stanford? Roy Williams is saying it was touched by Stanford. Boy, it didn't look like North Carolina touched it, though, after it hit the rim, did it?
No, it did not.
So why is it Stanford ball?
There's going to be a timeout for Stanford. That's $1 million question, and I don't think there's anyone that's on the court that has any definitive, realistic answer. That ball gets shot. It was not touched by anybody there.
No.
Nope. That wasn't touched by anybody. It hit the rim and went out of bounds. That should be Carolina's ball. It's not. Stanford will have a chance to whittle this thing down even more. They trail by 9.
Cody Pugh missing a 3, and the 3 officials couldn't see that it did not touch the hand of Manley.
I could see it. You saw it.
Yep. But it is Stanford ball. And that could be big because they've got it down the 9, nearing a minute to go here in the first half. Cartwright on the drive. White for 3. Rebounded by Manley. Manley coming off a 16-point, 13-rebound game against Bucknell. He's a freshman from near Columbus, Ohio. Barry's guarded by a 6'8" forward in Pugh. Now they switch. They got Reed Travis on Barry. He'll take the 3 over him and splash it through.
Put him on a little skates. Back him off, create the space, and elevate up and finish. The shot is back.
Barry's got 18. 20 for Williams, so they've got a combined 38 points. Those 2 guys outscoring Stanford's team right now in the first half. About a 6-second difference between game and shot clocks here at the end of the first half.
They just give the ball to Pinson. They're going to look for him to drive and potentially kick the elevation.
Pinson hits with 3 on the shot clock. Stanford has time, though, to get a decent shot. Cartwright gets it away. It won't fall. And North Carolina, with 50 first-half points. Barry, as you said, really struggled last time out, 1 for 11, but he is on fire tonight in this game. A couple of threes, 7 of 12 overall from the floor. North Carolina big at the break. John Brinkley, Seth Greenberg, Hall of Famer Jay Williams standing by. Welcome back. ESPN's Feast Week is presented by Lowe's. Stay Pashon Farnham at Stanford. North Carolina up 14 on the strength of a terrific backcourt. Joel Berry, Kenny Williams, a combined 38 points.
Yeah, you look at the first half, and Stanford got off to a good start, and it was large part because their ability to attack the paint. 8 of their first 11 points came inside the paint, and Reed Travis put in work. 13 points in the first half, 4 of 7. But you want to talk about putting in work. Number 24, Kenny Williams, did all he had to do early in this game, going 6 of 7. And a lot of these were uncontested looks. Stanford made the adjustment, and that's when Joel Berry got in the action.
Three-pointer is good for Isaac White, who has 16 points now. Reed Travis had 13, playing all 20 minutes of the first half. And again, North Carolina led by Williams, 20, and Joel Berry with 18. And now we have a foul on Stanford. Travis.
They take a look at the first half numbers. 14 points off those 9 Stanford turnovers. They only had 1 steal. I mean, so it wasn't like they were even forced turnovers. They were just balls being thrown out of bounds. Meanwhile, for Stanford, White and Travis, they carry the load. The rest of the team's got to step it up.
Good play by Humphrey, but he gives it right back. There's turnover number 10.
It is an unforced error there. You've secured the possession. You got the steal. Value the ball.
This free throw is also a problem in that first half. The Stanford was 6 of 13 at the line. An offensive foul called on Garrison Brooks. That is 3 on him. A turnover by the Tar Heels. Stanford at 3-1 coming into tonight. They were 0-8 against ranked teams last year in Jared Hass's first season on the farm.
But you see, you got to get a sense around walking around campus that the buzz is starting to come back for basketball.
Sure.
Mike Montgomery had this thing absolutely rolling. He left, and ever since he's left, Trent Johnson had a couple of good seasons, and then the program kind of started to fall out of the good graces with the students. And the lifeline to any good program is the student body believing in the passion of the team. And tonight, you kind of get a sense like the old Stanford's starting to return, and they're starting to believe in the hype. And part of that is because of the young freshmen. Remember, Stanford is not playing at full strength tonight. Dorian Pickens is out, as well as a couple other players, but Dorian Pickens in particular is an important cog that they would need to be successful against a team like North Carolina. But they've got some young pieces. Davis at the free throw line. Dejon Davis. They're not necessarily put up the numbers that he wants. You see Pickens standing on the sideline. But they've got some good building blocks and some good recruits coming in next year.
Another missed free throw, though, so they've missed 8 free throws in this game. Well, Jared Hass, a guy that he's a Roy Williams disciple. He played for Williams at Kansas. As Berry connects on another three-pointer, his third.
I mean, that is the most welcome sight you could think of if you're a North Carolina fan, is that Berry has found his touch. He has found his rhythm from beyond the arc. He's 3 of 6 now from deep.
We're talking about the connection with Hass and Roy Williams. Hass started out at Cal, actually, as a player. His father passed away, ended up going to Kansas as Humphrey went for the dunk and missed. It said that Roy Williams basically became his father there, was a father figure to him, employed him for many years in North Carolina as an assistant as Pinson drives the length of the floor and scores.
The recruiting story is interesting. I didn't know that Coach Williams didn't like pizza. Did you know that?
I know, but I read that story where he went to Hass's house. And
they had 2 kinds of pizza available on the home visit.
He said, I don't like pizza, and then he thought he was going to lose the recruit. He said, how much do I really like pizza?
Right.
Do I want this recruit that badly?
And the answer was yes.
Pizza? Yep, he did.
So there's a lot of recruits that are maybe watching this that are thinking about maybe going to Carolina. If you want to know how much Coach Williams really wants you to be a player on his team, buy pizza when he shows up.
It was interesting to talk about Jared Haas and his feelings for Roy Williams. Haas told us today that when he was a player, I mean, he'd have so many conversations one-on-one with Williams that were all emotional because of just losing his father and then the relationship that he had with his coach. As Humphrey misses inside, it's rebounded by Manley.
And one of the other stories he mentioned was, he was struggling at times. He wasn't shooting the ball very well at Kansas. And he put on video, and he kept showing him how the floor burns, which has become part of the program here at Stanford. The effort plays, the hustle plays that Jared would make as a player. He said, look, I don't care if you keep missing those shots. We have faith that you're going to make those. But as long as you keep doing this, you're going to keep playing for me.
Travis goes to the left-handed, puts it in. Well, Stanford needs some stops, though. They got to find a way to shut down North Carolina offensively as May misses inside. Travis, good defense and the save by Davis. De Silva down the floor, puts it in, +1. Excellent look down the floor.
You talk about the core values of Stanford basketball, and that would embody a lot of them. They say the core beliefs are you invested, are you tough, are you selfless? That was a great pass, great recognition, the selflessness to recognize the pass, and how invested are you in the process. Dejon Davis diving out of bounds to save that, to even give Humphrey the chance to make that pass.
But now 9 missed free throws. They're 1 of 3 here in the half at the foul line. That was De Silva who missed it. It'll stay with North Carolina after the deflection. Offensive foul is called here on Manley. That's 3 on him. Chris Hubert Davis, I was talking with him today. He's obviously working now for Roy Williams, and he had a lot of the same sentiments for Williams that Jared Haas had. Said obviously loved working with him. And how about for Hubert getting his ring finally? When he was a player at North Carolina, they didn't win a championship. They won it the year after he left. And in the NBA, as a member of the Knicks, they went to the finals and lost to Houston. So he finally got his ring last year as an assistant coach in Chapel Hill. Such a terrific person.
He's a great life.
You and I had a chance to work with him very closely when he was at ESPN. Love the guy.
One of the all-time good guys. If you're ever in a bad mood, go spend time with him.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, life is so much about perspective and how you see it. What glass are you looking through? And Hubert Davis is one of those guys that seemingly every time I see the big smile on his face, he's just passionate about the sport. And now he's able to give that back to these young Tar Heels. And he understands what it means to be part of that program. And his legacy will go beyond being a player there. It goes to now creating that next legacy, that next generation that's going to want to come back and be part of this program.
And that's why he said he took the job, to go back to Chapel Hill, where he was living anyway, but to be able to work at North Carolina. Says that's the only job he wants, to be an assistant coach at North Carolina as Pinson connects because of his love for developing and helping young men mature. 13-point Tar Heel lead.
There's brands in college basketball. There's no doubt about it. We talked about Duke. We talked about Kentucky, Carolina, Michigan State. I mean, these are brands now in the college basketball landscape where excellence is expected on a year-in and year-out basis.
Last touch by Stanford. North Carolina ball. Tar Heels up 13. Hubert looks serious now because he's in coach mode, but he was pretty happy last year, embracing.
That's how I felt when I found out I was doing this game with you, partner.
That's how I felt too when I found out you were going to be here instead of the other guy.
What's your name? Hey, look right now, and Stanford's done so many things right. I mean, they're shooting 47% from the field on the game, but the turnovers have been a huge, huge problem for them. Even when they've got a good defensive stop, they turn it right back over. 11 turnovers on the game. 14 points off of those turnovers have allowed Carolina to really get out and try to change the tempo and the pace of this game, and because of that, they're shooting 50% from the field in the game. Think about this. They kept Carolina off the glass. Only 3 offensive rebounds so far in the game for North Carolina.
Part of that is because they're shooting so well.
Right.
45% from 3, 50% overall. Great pass that time by Barry down low to Manley. The other thing that's hurting Stanford, 11 missed free throws in this game. They're 7 of 18, and they don't have any points from their bench. Travis on the drive, just so tough to handle.
Well, it was the change of pace. And that was the big reason for success there. That one was just a straight sprint right down the middle of the floor, and Reed Travis was thinking about the made basket he just had.
Yeah, Carolina getting a transition basket within seconds of the hoop by Travis, and then traveling violation on Isaac White.
Reed Travis, young players watch, change of pace, a little stutter step, freezes the defense, and then he gets lower. He gets his shoulders lower to the ground and able to finish. And he's going, you know what, that was sweet. That was a nice move. Uh-oh, I got beat by a step. And Luke May's able to finish. Cannot get beat.
And the lead is 15 right now for North Carolina. Tough shot that goes. Will they count it? No. In the NBA, that would count. It was on the gather.
That should count in college, too.
Davis is shaken up after committing his 3rd foul.
What are you looking at?
Davis, as he came in, I believe, got elbowed in the head.
You think they got it right, though?
Yeah, I mean...
Non-shooting foul?
Yeah. No, I think it should have been a shot. I think he should have counted it. You don't think they should have counted it?
No, I thought that he wasn't in a shooting motion.
You know what? This is the difference between the NBA and our game. I kind of like the NBA's version better.
Right, when it's on the gather on drives,
yep,
you get the continuation.
Why not?
That's your shooting motion on a drive is on the gather. Isn't that the case in college, too? Should be, right?
I like points.
Barry up top. Barry's another 3. That's 4 triples and 24 points. His career high is 31. He might get it tonight. Deflection by May. Carolina in transition. But a turnover stolen by Cartwright. Pugh, offensive foul. You can see that one coming from a mile away as Williams stepped in front.
All right, both teams are playing a little bit too fast right now. You got to settle it down and get some composure. Even when you get a turnover opportunity, just pull it back out. Make sure you get yourself a clean possession. Instead, you throw it to a trail that's running at full speed right at the rim. Great job by Williams to set his feet.
You mentioned you like scoring. We all like scoring, and they're trying to officiate to allow for more scoring. Point of emphasis, freedom of movement. And they also are taking the shot clock now, and on situations where you have a foul, like here, if it was inside 20 seconds, it'd go back to 20 instead of resetting, which it used to do.
Yeah.
So they are trying to add elements or change some things, tweaking them here and there to help, hopefully, offense. But I think they should just get the shot clock down to 24 anyway. Get away from 30.
Roy doesn't like what he sees right there. There's no question about that.
Are you with me on the shot clock, though? Would you like to see it coincide with what the NBA does with a 24-second shot clock? Why does it need to be 30? Well, why the extra 6 seconds?
I like it at 30 because it allows time to have a little bit change as far as the game goes. You're going to take away the zone. We're going to widen the key. Then it's just the NBA model. Instead, I like what we have right now as far as the shot clock goes. But I do like the reset to 20 seconds. More possessions means more scoring. That means more fun for Joel Berry and Kenny Williams.
Take a look at the Battle for Atlantis bracket. Villanova, Western Kentucky, Arizona ranked number 2 in the country.
Think about a potential championship matchup between number 2 and number 5. I mean, those are two teams that are right there in the discussion of going to a Final Four. Alonzo Trier playing arguably the best basketball of anybody in the country right now. When you look at his efficiency numbers, how well he's scoring the ball, averaging 30 points per game on the season, shooting better than 50% from both the field and from 3.
I know, Sean, we're just a couple weeks into the season, but I know you call a ton of games, you watch a ton of games on TV. Who's the best team you've seen so far in college basketball heading into this feast week as Manly scores in a Stanford foul?
I think it's Duke. I think so impressed with the way that they have played. And you look at the matchups, and here's the dream matchups. If brackets hold true this week, you see Arizona and Villanova down in the Battle for Atlantis. You see Duke, Florida, Michigan State, North Carolina, both at the PK 80 in the two separate brackets they have up there. And then Wichita State versus Notre Dame. I'll tell you this, there's more that I've seen of teams that aren't quite there yet that I think are overrated than there is of, okay, that team separated themselves. I don't think Kentucky's a top 10 team right now.
Well, they struggled tonight.
I just don't see it. They struggled again tonight against Troy. They struggled against Utah Valley. They're a team that right now is unsettled in the half court. And part of that is because of point guard play. They don't have that burst of speed point guard that they've had over the last couple of years.
Humphrey hits a three. It gets the crowd back into it a little bit. Will it get Stanford back into the game? The Cardinal down 18 points. Humphrey forces a turnover. Now White for three. Rebounded by Pinson.
And that doesn't mean that Kentucky at the end of the year isn't going to get there. Certainly we've seen it before in the past where teams come in unsettled. But this is such a young group for Coach Calipari that every day it's introducing what it's like to play at this level, the expectations, how hard you have to compete, and then the consistency in which you have to play at to carry that trophy.
Isn't it like that every year, though?
This year, even more so. I mean, at least in the years past, they've had one or two sophomores that came back to have significance. This year, they don't have that.
Nice hang and score by Pinson. And it's a 22-point lead, the largest of the night for Carolina. Is this the year finally for Arizona to make the Final Four under Sean Miller? A lot of people thought it was last year, but they had a disappointing NCAA tournament. Travis throws it down,
and
but
there's
he just
a
got
technical foul.
Yeah, he just hit Sterling Manley after the dunk.
That's an easy call. He lost his composure, and that is rare to see for Reed Travis. He is not the type of player that does it, but when you do it like this, it's plain for everybody to see. Great play. That's all you needed to do. You didn't need to extend out your arm and push him away. You erase the positive when you welcome in the negative because you lose your mind.
They're going to go to the monitor here, but it was called a technical foul.
It's a good call. It's a good call. Saw it right away, and we're slowing it down so you see it, and you're sitting there going, well, it doesn't look that bad. You're right, it's not that bad. But when you put your arm on someone's shoulder and then you throw them out of the way after you have already scored, you can't afford to do that.
The officials still discussing things after the technical foul on Reed Travis. 20-point North Carolina lead.
And how do you take a positive and make it a negative? Well, guess what? This gets you on SportsCenter, and that right there erases it. The extension and the stare down, all of that unnecessary in that moment. You get a dead ball technical foul, and it becomes free throws for North Carolina in a moment where the fans finally got back into the game, and that strength and that composure that you come to expect out of Stanford gets lost.
And so Joel Berry at the free throw line with North Carolina in front by 20. .25 points for Berry. And he gets them both. And it's North Carolina ball. All right, joining us now is Heisman Trophy candidate Bryce Love of Stanford. Do you have mixed emotions for this game? Because you play at Stanford, but you're from North Carolina. Were you a Tar Heel fan growing up?
I definitely had love for him growing up. My uncle went there, so, I'm real familiar with the program. It is weird to see him out here, And I would be cheering for him any other game but this, but got to go with the school I'm at.
The obvious question comes is, how you feeling? You've been banged up. You've been playing through a lot of things in the last month here. How's the health? Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I mean, it's just one of those things that you got to work through and continue to progress. And, you know, the training staff is doing real well with it. The strength staff is doing real well with it. And I just feel like I'm getting better each and every day.
You guys have a huge game on Saturday night against Notre Dame. I know your fate to play in the Pac-12 championship game is in the hands of someone else. There's another game going on that impacts you. But how would you describe this season? There were some people that thought you guys might be a playoff team coming into the year.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we always had those goals coming in. And, you know, one of the big things I feel about this team this year is we were resilient. You know, getting into the year, you know, we dropped a few games, lost a few, but end of the day, you know, we kept fighting, kept clawing, and now we're here where we are with the opportunity to play in the Pac-12, but right now we're focused on Notre Dame. So, you know, we're just happy for the opportunity and excited to see where it ends up.
The opportunity for you to go to New York. I mean, when you think about the thought process and the lineage of running backs that have come through here in recent memory, of course, Christian McCaffrey, Toby Gerhart, how much pride do you take in carrying that torch and then trying to take it to that next level?
Yeah. I mean, it means so much to me. I mean, being here to witness Christian and, you know, to see all the amazing things that he did and how he was as a person, you know, he really set that standard for me. And obviously, you know, I had the honor, you know, Stephon Taylor was the honorary captain one time, got to meet him. You know, Toby Gerhart, you know, has come around the facilities a few times, and you know, you just get that vibe, you just get that feeling of greatness, and you just want to uphold that, and that's been one of my big motivating factors for this year.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you about the Heisman Trophy, and I know Sean mentioned getting to New York, but what about winning the trophy? Is it something you thought about? It's hard, I got to imagine, walking around this campus to not think about it because everybody has #Heisman Love shirts on.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to get used to. You know, going in, you know, you always have goals, you know, playing NCAA, you know, you want to, you get these ideas and want to accomplish these things. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you learn it's really just about everybody. And, you know, it would be an honor to just being considered for it is an honor. And I consider it reflective of my teammates more than anything and the guys who motivated me and, you know, the coaches, the training staff, and, you know, everything that's just beyond me. And really, you know, I'm just focused on just the games, you know, I still have left to play. And end of the day, wherever the chips fall, they fall.
All right, now, you talk about being a student athlete here at Stanford.
Yeah.
It's not like your normal. This is a different kind of place. You got a lot of goals outside of just football.
Yeah.
Talk about how proud you are of what you've achieved academically and how you're getting closer and closer to achieving your goals in your profession outside of football.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming in, you know, I had wanted to be a doctor. You know, that's one of the lasting things about me. You know, I want to work in pediatrics, and you know, I've been working towards that goal. Finished the Hum Bio core or the human biology core, made it out of there. So right now, just in the core classes, getting through it and doing my research, and hopefully, I'm gonna be pre-med till I'm not. So it might be a long time.
Well, hey, Bryce, we appreciate it. I don't know with the year that Baker Mayfield has had, even with the incident last week, that you'll end up winning it, but you've had a terrific year, and hopefully you get to New York.
Do they realize the arrow's pointing to me? That's not who they want it pointed to.
It's right.
It's Sean Fordham for the Heisman. Write it in.
Hey, Bryce, congratulations on your year so far. Good luck against Notre Dame.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
That game on ABC. Bryce Love of the Stanford Cardinal. Traveling is called here.
I've never had anybody say I should win the Heisman. I don't think that's what they were intending.
You're a UCLA guy, and they're not going to vote for you anyway here on the farm.
We need a new coach. Chip Kelly, potentially. That's what we're hearing, right?
You would like that, wouldn't you?
I would like that a lot. Chip, if you're watching, UCLA would like you.
Chip currently working for us. Platek hits the basket. Now North Carolina up 22 in full command now of this game, the midway point of the second half.
And what you've seen, too, is just the emergence. And this is the difficult thing for Stanford. This is the difference between where Stanford's at as a program and where North Carolina is. Eventually, as the game goes on, the length and the depth of Carolina, it just wears on you. You know, and if you don't have the pieces to match up with them and the endurance to stay with them, you start seeing that gap widen, and get larger and larger as the game goes on.
Humphrey in transition. They're going to wave it off, foul on the floor.
Now see, I like the one down here that should have been an N1 opportunity, and I think that should be an N1 opportunity in the college game.
It was on the gather. In the NBA, that is continuation because the shooting motion
has begun.
When you're penetrating is on the gather, and I agree with you. I think we should have that in college as well. Felton with a foul.
A good job in transition. And Humphrey, who has not had the best game, and he's had some really good games in this early season, but this has not been one of his better games. His efficiency's been fine, but just the opportunities haven't presented themselves.
They were picked 5th in the Pac-12 preseason. Arizona picked to win it again. Is that where you see them finishing? Or, I mean, they've already lost a game to Eastern Washington. Is this another Stanford season where they finish in the bottom half? They were 9th last year, 6 and 12.
Without Pickens, I reserve judgment.
Sure.
Okay, and I'm not trying to cop out of it. If this is the team and Pickens isn't part of it, I don't think this is a 5th place team in the Pac-12. I think you look at, obviously, Arizona, USC. I think Oregon is playing very well. UCLA took a loss tonight to Creighton. They're not playing outstanding. But I think Arizona State's kind of a sleeper on the outside right now. They've got some speed and some versatility. They don't have a lot of size. But if they get any kind of production from underneath, they could be really good. Trey Holder, by the way, was named Pac-12 Player of the Week today.
Well, and you mentioned Pickens. He's out with a foot injury. He's a guy that last year started every game. Averaged 13 points, shot 40% from 3. It's going to stay Stanford ball here.
Yeah, but what does that tell you about Joel Berry? And this is a guy that's gone through everything, and he just sold out for a loose ball on the floor, up by 17.
Yeah, with 26 points on the night.
You want your best players to be your best workers, your hardest workers. When I played at UCLA, I was honored to play with Earl Watson. Earl Watson was one of those guys that never took a play off. He had just the will to win, the desire to win. He's in the off-ball guarding position, and he just sells out to try to regain a possession. And that's coming off of a broken hand.
And you could see the hand taped up. It's still bothering him. They thought he was actually going to be out longer. Here's Humphrey, turn and shoot, can't get it, and rebounded by May. That would have got it down to 15 with 8.5 to go. Here's 7th Woods. That's his first name, 7th, a 2-time Mr. Basketball in South Carolina, now a sophomore for the Tar Heels. May to the bucket, count it. And you hear the chants for Luke from the North Carolina faithful, making up about half of the seats here at Maples Pavilion, a sold-out crowd tonight.
First sellout they've had since March of 2015 when they hosted Oregon. I tell you what, he's good.
Isaac White.
Isaac White from Australia. He's got some moxie to him. We talked to Coach earlier today. He said, look, he brings the toughness to the team, and it's a mental and a physical toughness with him.
Berry again. Another three-pointer. Joel Berry with 29 points, 2 shy of a career high. 5 threes in the game. Offensive foul is called. Man, how many charges have we seen North Carolina take in this game? That was Luke May.
The rotations have been crisp at the defensive end of the floor. At the offensive end, Joel Berry, an outstanding performance. Is it good enough to make my best in class for the seniors in college basketball? I'll tell you.
Take a look at the Maui Invitational bracket. Marquette and Wichita State will play in the semifinals tomorrow. Wichita State was down big to Cal, came back to win. Notre Dame will play the winner of Michigan LSU.
Landry Shamet really good for Coach Marshall and the Shockers. Make the switch over from the Missouri Valley Conference this year to the American. Going to be a step up as far as competition, I think, from top to bottom. Inside that conference, going to be good for Wichita State. Their Final Four good.
They got a terrific coach.
Yeah.
And again, being down big to a Cal team that's not that great, be able to come back and win that ball game when you're down 17 points with about 8 minutes to go, tells you something about them when they win by 10. 20-point lead for North Carolina here at Stanford. Berry and Williams have combined for 49. Williams got most of those in the first 8 minutes of the game. Stanford foul here.
He was red hot, and then they made the adjustment defensively where they are not helping off of him, and they are staying connected. And when they started staying connected, that's what allowed Joel Berry to get a piece of the paint and start seeing the basketball go through the hoop. After missing 12 consecutive shots dating back to the prior game, once he saw it go through, he hasn't stopped. So he started slow, and in the second, after scoring only 2 points, I think, in the first 10 minutes of the first half, that's when he went nuts.
Humphrey with a rebound off the missed free throw. All right, let's take a look at your best-in-class top seniors.
Yeah, these are the top seniors in the country, and obviously Joel Berry wasn't put on this list because he only had played 1 game so far this season. Easily could be on this list. If you haven't seen Yonte Mayton play for Georgia, he's a double-double machine every single night for Mark Fox. Jock Landell is one of those players in St. Mary's, a smaller conference, obviously in the WCC. That's just a phenomenal talent for a team that's going to be in the top 25 all year long and challenge Gonzaga for the conference championship. Grayson Allen, his hot start that we saw, the 37 at the Champions Classic, was just an outstanding performance.
Travis able to put it in.
We talk about class, and always we say it's about the one-and-done guys. This year, college basketball isn't about the one-and-done guys. There's a lot of upperclassmen that are impacting the game and are going to determine who wins the championship.
Here's some of your juniors. You mentioned Alonzo Trier earlier. Jalen Brunson from Villanova, of course.
Ethan Happ and Kayvon Allen, maybe a player that a lot of people nationally haven't paid attention to. You should have, because of Florida's great run in the NCAA tournament last year, but comes back as one of the premier scorers in the SEC. And then Beanie Boatwright, the Metu-Boatwright combination, so pivotal for USC and the success that they're going to have this season.
Offensive foul here on May, trying to get open.
Again, those are juniors and seniors. You know, that
a lot of big names.
That should be household names in our sport. And if we're doing our job right, that means you and I, covering games, talking about and giving credit to those players. It's not just about the young freshmen. It's not about the sizzle and pop of the new toy. You know, at Christmas, you always get the new toy, right? And you get excited and you're like, oh, it's the new toy. And then like 10 minutes later, my son stops playing with it and goes right back to playing with the old toy that he really likes.
You mentioned new toys. Let's give some love to the freshmen, because there are some darn good ones in college basketball again this year.
Yeah, Michael Porter Jr. we really haven't seen yet. Just limited to 2 minutes only from Missouri, dealing with an injury. Marvin Bagley, you can see how electrifying he is. DeAndre Ayton, a game changer. Trey Young was the Big 12 Conference Player of the Week last week. This week he was the newcomer of the week, averaging a double-double. And then Colin Sexton, the name on the bottom of the screen. Avery Johnson's got himself a point guard that can flat out go. And Colin Sexton's going to have them in the mix all season long.
There's Sharma with a dunk. You and I are going to see Alabama at Arizona. That'll be an interesting game because of some of the great young players. Also, yes. Arizona's got some vets. We mentioned Trier, but Ayton of Arizona, and then Alabama is
you think about John Petty, another one of those freshmen for Alabama the other night, had 30 points on 10 made three-pointers.
SEC should be better this year, right? Should just all be about Kentucky in 2017-18.
The SEC starts the year, I think, with 7 teams getting in the NCAA tournament field. That's how good they are as far as depth. And I think Florida and A&M both right now are playing better basketball than the Kentucky Wildcats. And it might stay that way all season long because they've got experience. A guy like Tyler Davis, double-double consistently, Admon Gilder, DJ Hogue, they were all part of that Sweet 16 team for Texas A&M. Went through a struggling season a year ago for Billy Kennedy.
7th, Woods with the jumper. Now, here are the best sophomores, and we want to highlight these guys last because these are the guys that decided to come back. They were not one-and-done guys. Some of them could have been, maybe.
Well, Bridges and Williams in particular, those are 2 guys that could have gone and would have been picked. I mean, Williams, there's a general manager told me that if he was available at 12 and that's where they were picking, that they would have chosen him. But instead, he came back. He didn't feel like he was ready. Miles Bridges just turned his ankle last night. Of course, he'll be part of the PK tournament up in Portland, where both of these teams are headed. And right now, it looks like Carolina might be heading to their first road win of the season.
Well, you look at Roy Williams and his record against former players. He has one loss. That was against Jared Haas, who's now the head coach at Stanford. That was when Haas was at UAB. Haas played for Roy Williams in Kansas, and then spent 13 years as an assistant at both Kansas and North Carolina for Roy Williams.
Tonight it's been a master class. Now you look at what Roy Williams has accomplished. The 800 wins, the 400 career wins at 2 schools, Kansas and then now North Carolina.
First guy to ever do that at 2 different schools.
And a win tonight would be his 100th true road victory as the head coach of North Carolina.
We touched on it earlier. You look at the 3 national championships. Now, those teams lost a lot of players the year after they won the previous 2 championships, and they lose a lot of guys off last year's team. Justin Jackson, a first-round pick, Isaiah Hicks, Kennedy Meeks, Tony Bradley, a lot of key players from that team a year ago.
Well, and Tony Bradley was the one. I mean, because I think if he came back, he clearly would have been the go-to guy for Carolina. Would have been a breakout season, would have been one of the faces of the game.
So we'll see if Carolina can get back to playing in a national championship game for the 3rd straight year and maybe winning it for a 2nd straight season. Their season will continue Thursday. The PK80 presented by State Farm. What a terrific field for this first year of this tournament.
And that's where I'll be. I'll have the UConn-Oregon game. Michigan State, we'll probably talk about freshman Troy Brown for Oregon. Really good start for Dana Altman's group. And will be key to any success here. But I'll tell you, you look at Carolina, potential matchup against Oklahoma and Trae Young, or Arkansas, which would be a rematch of that NCAA tournament game. And Macon and Barford have Arkansas once again looking like an NCAA tournament team. I mentioned SEC 7 teams. I think Arkansas is going to be a tournament team. And those guys, when the bracket came out, they couldn't help but think they want to get another shot. They want to get a crack at him. And as Roy Williams told me today, he goes, look, we got off to a great start in that game. And then for about 27 minutes of game action, they just absolutely took it to us before we were able to regain our footing underneath us enough to win the game.
North Carolina, part of the reason this worked out for them playing at Stanford is because they knew they were going to Portland. They came out here on Friday. They're going to have Thanksgiving as a team.
Well, they enjoyed themselves here. They went to Facebook, Instagram. They talked about branding, social media awareness. I think that's important lessons to learn outside the court.
Davis with the slam.
Dejon Davis is going to be a really good player for Stanford. And it's rare, and we talk about a couple of those freshmen that can come in and make a dominating presence right away. And I know expectations were extremely high for him. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, in particular at the point guard position. Look at Lonzo Ball in the NBA. And there's moments where he looks like he's lost out on the floor. And then there's other games where he's, got 2 triple-doubles already in this young NBA season. It just takes longer at times to get the pace of the game to slow down and allow you to be successful.
At the top 2 picks in the NBA draft from the Pac-12, both point guards, Markelle Fultz, who's still out with an injury, going to be out a few more weeks, it looks like, and Lonzo Ball with the Lakers. Very tough position when you transition from college to pro, considering who you're going up against.
Well, and it's equally tough going from high school to college. You come in as an 18-year-old and you're playing some of these schools like Eastern Washington, you're going against experienced guards that are been around 22 years old, 21 years old, and understand, have a little bit more man strength. And this is a big thing people forget when they make the transition to college. Everybody that's on the floor right now was all everything from wherever they came from. There's nobody out here that was like second team all-league in high school. You know what I'm saying? Right. Honorable mention, BVAL in the East Bay. All right, no, you didn't make North Carolina. You don't play at Stanford. You don't play at Eastern Washington. To play at the Division I level, you have to be sensational. You have to be everything. So when you come in, everybody you're playing against is better than everybody you played against in high school.
North Carolina starting to empty the bench here, Sean, with this game over, a 22-point lead. But the Tar Heels are going to go to 3-0. One of the guys who's into the game right now, Aaron Rollman, a senior, We were talking about him this morning because he looks like Tyler Hansbrough, but it's not 2.0, it's 3.0.
Yeah, he looks like Thor.
Number 25 who's a walk-on. He plays like Hansbrough. He goes 100 miles an hour. But just look at the kid.
I mean, seriously. I don't know much about his game. I'm just going to be honest. But I'm going to guess body fat percentage is somewhere around like 5 to 7. The guy works out.
Didn't you say you asked him what his workout regimen was?
What is your workout regimen? He's like, I eat everything and I work out. I'm like, okay, yeah.
He's also 20 years younger than you. He can do that. You can't eat everything
I can't eat everything, and I don't work out as hard. I'll tell you that right now. No chance.
20-point lead for North Carolina. Stanford going to fall to 3-2 in the season. The Cardinal play Florida, which is currently ranked number 7. That is at PK 80 on Thursday. A tough week. You play the number 9 team in the country, and then you got the 7th-ranked team, and you don't have one of your key guys in Dorian Pickens, who's not expected back for that game on Thursday. They're hoping he's back next week or the week after. Conference play, remember, starts at the end of December now in Pac-12 play. All the Carolina fans that are here, every time Rollman gets anywhere near the ball, they all stand up because they want him to take the shot. Turnover by Carolina. Nice block by Platek.
A little elevation.
Freshman from the Albany, New York area, almost went to Stanford. It came down to Stanford in North Carolina. Chose the Tar Heels.
Great job in transition, not giving up on the basket, late game execution, above the rim, and making the play. And I'll tell you, one of the other players that are on the floor, that young man right there, Shea Rush, the son of my teammate, Jerron Rush, who in this building back in March of 2000 hit a buzzer beater to knock off then number 1 Stanford in the final game of my regular season of my career and Mark Madsen's senior day. And Shea Rush is just an outstanding young man who has many interests in life. He is very proud of his dad. We were talking about today. I had him actually take a picture in the spot in which his dad took the shot and made it in this building. And it's crazy for me to think about that I knew him when he was just after he was born. Yeah, he would come visit his dad.
I mean, you were telling me that, I mean, you held him as
an infant.
There he is. The crowd goes wild.
Thor! Marvel Comics has asked for him, I'm sure, by now. Central Casting, called North Carolina Men's Basketball Office. You can find it.
Aaron Rollman. White doesn't get the bounce on the 3. And here's Rush. You were telling me you held Rush as an infant. I bet this is the first time you called a game. Oh my gosh! Jalik Felton with a facial on Trevor Standback. What a way to end the night.
Give you a sense of how many Carolina fans are in the building. The master taking on the pupil. Tonight was a master class by Roy Williams and his team. Joel Berry, Kenny Williams. They led the way all night long, but the end of the night, it was stolen by the guys that came off the bench. A little rip through and a finish by Thor. And then this one, Sports Center, dial it up. Get ready, SVP. That might be the best thing you've seen today. It was for Shea Rush.
It's so late on the East Coast, I think SVP is done for the night.
Is he? Oh, yeah, he's done.
He normally says he's
Stand
not tired.
and kneel. You can do it.
I think he's asleep right now.
Sports Center AM. Somebody's got to do it.
Jalen and Jacoby next. I believe on tape. So long for Palo Alto. For Sean, I'm Dave. Stanford falls to North Carolina. The Tar Heels win at 96-72. Dave Pasch, Sean Farnham signing off on the Farm.